guys, welcome to the project. This one's called Anita. In this project we learn how to put a magnetic clasp in the front, and we've got a lot of interesting details in the side as well. The only thing that's missing is a top zipper, but you can choose one of the methods that I have shown you in all these different bags that I have put together for you. So you could actually add a little feature on the top and close it with a zipper. We also learn how to put the handles in a cross direction. Though the pattern looks straight, I'm going to use a technique to show you how to do this in case if you want to use this in any other project that you make. Let's go ahead and get started with this project. And trim the excess off, so leaving for about 3/4 of an inch or half an inch. Half an inch is more than enough, okay? Okay, match the center marking that where you have a notch to the center of your little attachment and place it 2.5 inches away from the edge, not from the seam allowance edge of the fabric. So place it 2.5 inches away and then make a marking. I'm just going to make a straight pencil mark which won't be seen on this brown colored print. So I'm just going to make that, so that should be in between there. So I'm going to go and sew onto the fabric like so, on a single layer of fabric, just sewing it all around. I prefer to sew it with the normal foot because I can see where I'm sewing, and go ahead and center it because it's very difficult to pin. So you'll have to hold it like so in your hand, and I'm just going to start somewhere on a straight line. So once you've sewn a straight line, then it's easy. Then you can let go of the fabric and just move and concentrate on your stitches rather than the straight line. This flap is sewn in. Now if you put it like so, now that looks really neat. Okay, now this flap we're going to do right at the end. We don't need to do anything right now, so I'm just going to keep this one aside. And now we need to put all of them together, the lining, the side panels and the bag. Okay, so we're going to attach the side panels first to the lining, and then we're going to attach it to the main fabric. Okay, that's your lining, right side of the lining. You have the center joint, so you don't need another marking. Spread it like so and take your side panels. Now right side facing upwards, wrong side facing the lining, and I have made a center marking. So place the center marking onto the center joint of the lining like so, and we go ahead and from this corner to this corner, don't close the stitch, leave it a little bit away. Okay, let's have a look in a close-up. That's the center marking, and that is the center joint of the lining. Now let's place it. We're going to sew from this corner, not all the way till the edge, because we're going to pivot the corner here. We need to turn the corners. So we're going to start from this point, which is like 1/2 inch away from the edge, 1/2 inch away from the edge. So from here to here first, okay? And afterwards we're going to turn this and go to the other side. If you want to pin or tack this, just go ahead and do it. I'm just going to start from that point marking we have made, and okay, now we're going to turn this fabric over like so. Just leave the needle where it is and just turn the fabric. Don't worry about how your fabric is sitting, it's going to be fine. So just turn it like so, drop your presser foot down, and then just sew a straight stitch, attaching the side seam of the side wall to the side of the bag. And at the end you'll see a little bit extra lining fabric, that's fine. Okay, here is the corner we have just sewn, and you can see when you drop your needle down and turn, you get a really nice angle, okay, and the fabric is not wrinkly anywhere. And if you turn it around the right side, which is the inside of the lining, you can see it's looking like a neat corner. What we're going to do is we're going to go back do a couple of stitches at this end, and now turn it over like so and go and attach this to the lining, and that again you will have a little bit of fabric left over, but that's fine. Okay, now we are starting on the opposite side, so let's go back, and because we started the marking where we needed to start, you can see it, and let's make the needle drop down on that point. Now turn from underneath your fabric, the sidewall fabric, and then just let it sit like so. So drop your needle down and then just match the edges and go and sew a 1/2 inch stitch. Okay, there are the corners that we have just sewn in, and you can see because there's no cut mark, this is kind of lifting up, but that's fine, don't worry about it. On the other side you can see the corners that we have just sewn in. Okay, now we need to go and attach the main fabric. Okay, there is the side wall, and that's the inside of the lining. So now what we need to do is we need to go and attach the main fabric. So you need to get this right. If you have sewn in one pocket like myself, then the pocket needs to be at the back of the bag. So there's the pocket, there's the top bit, because then your flap is going to sit on top like this. So now we are just going to flip this over and just make sure we have the right side, okay, like so. Okay, so center of the fabric, because there's a join there, you can see. Now go and match the center join of the lining to the center join of the main fabric, and if possible just go ahead and place a pin, at least just attaching to the side wall, so then that's secure. Okay, now what we're going to do is hold it like so, turn it to the lining. We're going to start off from the center, go all the way till the end, because we have got the stitch line that we can see on the lining, and then because the main fabric is slightly lighter than the lining, you can pivot the corners, hold the needle down, pivot the corners like so, and go and attach all the way round. Once we've finished that, we're going to start off on this end and do exactly the same and on the stitch like so. You might have to do it twice if you can't see where you're sewing, because once attach it and then go back and stitch on top of the stitch again. Okay, let's go through it. Now that's the main fabric, and that's the side wall, and that's the lining. So I'm going to start in the center, matching the two joins of the main fabric and the lining. Place it in the center like so, then sew on the stitch we have already sewn. Just make sure you kind of end your needle in the corner that you have done before. Now lift the press foot up, the needle is still down, turn this over, matching the fabric of the main fabric like so. Okay, this is what we just did. Start from the center, go all the way till there. That's the main fabric, that's the lining fabric, and you see we have to sew the other half now. So now we're going to turn it over like so and sew from this side. When you sew from this side, you're not going to be able to see the stitch you've already done. So what I normally do is I just sew a little bit, and then I turn the corners and I sew the edge first, so my fabric is kind of fixed, and then I can start again from this end of the lining and then sew back on the stitch. It's a little bit of an extra process, but you're going to get this right properly. So let's just do one corner like so, and you can see that one corner is sitting neatly, and that's how it's supposed to be. So the same kind of effect we need on the other side as well. Okay, this is the corner that's already sewn in, and we need to sew this corner. That is the main fabric, that's the lining, and that is the side wall. So I'm going to do a stay stitch first. It may not be the right amount of seam allowance, so I'm just going to go approximately, try and do that. So let me just push this corner away so it's not in my way, and then place it like so and start sewing. That's approximate, but I'm going to try and do this from the other side so my stitching is right. So now I place it like so, drop my press foot down. Once you become an expert, this is quite easy to do, but if you're doing it for the first time, you might have to do it twice so you get the stitching right. Now just turn over and see if you have sewn right. If you haven't sewn right, then you start from this end, go all the way, and then try and do it on the stitch that you can already see. Mine's looking all right, so I'm just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over and show you in a different angle. That's how it looks from the outside. And if we turn this over, and you can see that it also looks neat from the inside. Now exactly the same way we did this side, go ahead and attach the other panel on the other side as well. There's no changes, absolutely the same process. Okay, I just wanted to show you, this is the one that I've shown you how to attach the side panel, and now I've attached the side panel to the other side exactly the same way. Now when you have to attach the main panel, sometimes you get confused. So basically just turn it over like so, bring it around like this, and then match your center point of the lining to the center joint of the main fabric and place a pin. Now go ahead and sew both ways. I have put the stitches in from the way I've shown you before. Now let's just turn everything inside out through the top opening of the bag. Okay, so now you have your neat bag already taking shape. So now what we need to do is just go ahead and close the top of the bag. Okay, now you can see that after we have closed the side walls, you have this raw edged fabric left. If you have it about inch and a half, that's going to be right. We don't need it so much, so just mark and cut out. Okay, now we're going to bind it with a bias binding, and afterwards we're going to turn it inside like so, and then close the stitch. Okay, I've placed some pins, and this is the straight line we have just cut out. Here's the bias binding. I have cut about an inch extra on either side. Half an inch to an inch extra is fine. Fold it into half like so, and just hold it to the edge like so, and then just go ahead and stitch an edge stitch at the end of the binding. Okay, if you're not confident, I would probably advise you just go and sew an edge stitch on this so that both the fabrics will hold together, and then you can bind it. But because I have pinned it, it's not necessary for me, so I'm going to go and sew like so. I've changed my thread to matching threads on both top and the bottom, so I'm just going to hold and leave a little bit extra like so, and go and sew an edge stitch. Okay, we have sewn the binding like so. Now we're going to fold it, the rest of the fabric, like that, and tuck this binding in, cut all the loose threads, and just make sure this is straight line. So if you're sewn in right and taken the right amount of seam allowance, then this will be straight. If not, before binding it, it's the time to kind of straighten the fabric by chopping off a little bit. So now we're going to go and sew an edge stitch at the end of the binding, starting and finishing with a back stitch. Exactly the same way you have to finish the other side as well. Tuck the extra binding in like so, and then go ahead and sew an edge stitch. Okay, here is the binding we have just sewn, and what we're going to do now is just go ahead and place your handle like so, otherwise this is kind of quite loose. So go ahead and place it like so and just do a little stitch on the top. So you have to change to brown thread or black thread and then a matching thread at the bottom. So we're going to tack this there and then also tack the handle on this side as well. So they kind of stay in place when you hold the bag. After you've done that, we go and finish the top of the bag exactly the same on the other side. Okay, we have attached the handle and sewn in both the sides of the bag, and all we need to do now is to attach the flap. So basically go ahead and place your flap like so, lock it so it's in place, turn it over and then bring the flap down like so, and then just fold it and make a marking. So I'm just going to make a pencil mark which I can erase later, and that's going to be the straight line where my fold is just going to end. Okay, I'm just going to hold it in my hand like that and then release the lock so my flap is free. Now open it up and then you have your fabric like there. You still have your marking, so just go ahead and just make sure that the marking is right and place a pin. And from that marking we're going to go and sew a stitch starting and finishing with the back stitch. You will see from inside this will be just above your zip. This is the line where this is just below the inside attachment. So we're just going to go and put a stitch first. And also this is underneath, this is just about the piping of the zipper pocket. Okay, now just trim the seam allowance to about 1/4 of an inch, like so, and flip this over and take it underneath your presser foot and place it, and then about 1/4 of an inch away, sew a top stitch. This line easily bends because that's where our interfacing is ending. Okay, here we have the neat zipper pocket inside the bag, all neatly finished, and fill your bag, and there is your bag now ready. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the project. Leave me a comment below and let me know. I shall see you next time. Thanks for watching.